Good evening. Welcome to the Community Development Committee. We generally meet the second and the fourth Mondays of each month. My name is Jessica Lotz, and I'm your representative from Ward 2. I'm the chairman for this meeting. Leading us, we have several city staff members, including Grant Lidekin, who's our city administrator, Greg Anderson, who's our director of community development, Ms. Abigail Klein, who's the community development coordinator, and also on the dais we have Mr. Jeff Taylor, who's our director of public works. Looking over our agenda, it looks like we have 2 items that we'll vote on, and then we'll receive some community updates about projects that have already passed council, but where they are at in the process. For those tuning in for the first time, I would like to note any votes taken tonight are advisory only. So regardless of how the vote ends, all items do move on to the full council for consideration. Anyone wishing to make comments will have several opportunities to do so. After each item is presented and discussed, I'll ask the committee up here if they have comments or questions. Then I'll ask the rest of our council members in the audience, and then we'll open it up to the public. There's also an opportunity at the end of the meeting for anybody who'd like to make final public comments, and those can be about anything on the agenda or not. Public comments are welcomed, and anyone wishing to speak will have 5 minutes to do so. Please just step up to the microphone, tell us your name, and if you're a resident of the city or not. Please address your comments to the council and not to individual staff members or members of the public. And our goal is to always answer questions that are asked, but sometimes we're asked questions that we may not know or that we want to double check on. In that case, we will do research, and if you leave your contact information, we're happy to get back with you. So with that, we will start with the roll call, please.
Thank you. Campbell?
Here.
Mylart?
Here.
Parchman?
Here.
Rosenberg?
Present.
Roach? Lotz?
Here. We need 4 people for quorum. We have more than that, so we can conduct business this evening. I will start with, is there a motion to approve the minutes from our December 8th, 2025 committee meeting?
So moved. Second.
Are there any questions or comments on the minutes? Nope. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Alrighty, item passes. The first item requiring council action is 2.1. This is a proposed revision to a development that was previously approved by the full council back in 2023. The plan at the time that it was approved had a Meijer store as well as 5 other businesses. There were 3 fast food, 1 sit-down restaurant, and 1 medical office building approved at that time. Since then, the property ownership for those front lots has changed, and now they're asking to revise the plan to include a convenience store with a gas station, 1 fast food, 1 casual dining, and 1 coffee shop, all with drive-through service. So prior to tonight, this plan was heard in a public meeting by our Planning Commission, and our Planning Commission, our volunteer committee made up of residents, and it received approval from the Planning Commission with a vote of 6-1. So with that, we will have staff walk through the project. Take it away.
Thank you. This is item 2.1, an ordinance amending the planned use for the shops at Pierce located at 700 Pierce Boulevard. To give an overview of the planned use submittal, this property is located on the southeast corner of Greenmount Road and Pierce Boulevard, and as Chair Lotz had said, the current zoning for this is B1P Planned Community Business, and the reason it is Planned Community Business is an amendment, or the ordinance for approval was passed by City Council on July 17th, 2023 for the lot which is located to the east of the shops at Pierce for the Meijer store, and this lot which is the shops at Pierce. The applicant is Meijer Stores Limited Partnership and Wolpert, and the revised tenant mix for the amended plan use includes drive-through restaurants, a coffee shop, and a Meijer Express Fuel Center. Taking a look at the zoning for this property, the property is zoned B1P, Planned Community Business, and it was passed through the ordinance in 2023. Located across the street on Greenmount Road, we have similar zoning B1P. And then across the street, we have agricultural, which is currently home to a church, and O1P, office planned use. And then taking a look at the future land use map, which is part of the 2040 master plan, this property is deemed regional commercial. Regional commercial is an appropriate use for retail, big box stores, fast food. It's high traffic generators, high light generators. So this would be an appropriate use for this property. And then looking at the adjacent land use to the east, we would have Meijer. Across the street to the north, we have SGI Engineering and other offices, O'Fallon Assembly of God, and to the west, we have the Blade Building, where Oaxaca is, Sugar Fire, Town Place Suites, FGM, Stifel, and other offices. Giving a project overview on the land, the site is 6.6 acres and located on the southeast corner of Greenmount Road and Pierce Boulevard, currently Zone B1P. And the Ordinance 4269 permits the parcel to be subdivided into 5 different commercial lots. Since then, the site has not been developed. It is currently undeveloped. And the proposed zoning for this through the amended plan use is B1P, Planned Community Business. The zoning would remain the same if passed, and the proposal, if passed, would subdivide the parcel into 4 commercial lots rather than 5. The tenant mix would include a Meyer Express Fuel Center, which would include a gas station, a convenience store, and 12 fuel pumps, a fast food restaurant with drive-through service, a fast casual restaurant with drive-through service, and a coffee shop with drive-through service. Taking a look at the 2023 ordinance and approved uses to the proposed 2025 uses, Lot A would change from a fast food restaurant with drive-through service to a gas station and convenience store with 12 fuel pumps. Lot B would remain a fast food restaurant, however, the building size would increase by approximately 520 square feet. Lot C would be a fast food restaurant, or fast casual restaurant compared to a fast food restaurant with approximately 610 additional square feet. And Lot D would turn from a sit-down restaurant at 6,000 square feet to a coffee shop at 1,000 square feet. On the 2023 approval, there was a use for Lot E of a medical office at 6,700 square feet, and that lot has since been eliminated and consolidated into four lots. We'll note that the fast food, the fast casual, and the coffee shop are also asking for drive-through service. This is a look at the original site plan, which was approved in 2023. You will see on the northwest portion of the site, you have 3 fast food restaurants with drive-through service. You have the sit-down restaurant located at the southern portion of the property, and the medical office is located on the east. It does still contain the internal private roadway and the shared cross-access with Meyer located to the east. And the consolidated or revised plan includes Lot 1, a Meyer Express Fuel Center on 1.73 acres. Lot 2, fast food drive-through at 1.35 acres. Lot 3 would be the fast casual with drive-through service at 0.79 acres. And Lot 4 would be a drive-through coffee shop at 0.93 acres. As noted, there's also a shared internal access and cross-access with Meyer. When we do get to item 2 on the agenda, on the preliminary plat, there are 4 lots, but outlot 5 is the internal private roadway, which will remain private and at the responsibility of the property owners. You'll also note on the preliminary plat, there is underground detention primarily located beneath lot 3, which is the fast casual restaurant with drive-through service. This is taking a look at the new proposed site. On the parcels that originally contained 3 fast food restaurants with drive-through service, you'll see that those lots are primarily the MX Express Fuel Center and fuel pumps located on Lot A. Lot B is the fast food restaurant with drive-through service. Lot C, which was previously the sit-down restaurant, is now being proposed as a fast casual restaurant with drive-through service. And the medical office building, which is outlot 4, is proposed as a coffee shop with drive-through service as opposed to a medical office building. Looking at the existing conditions, the property is currently undeveloped. It was utilized for agricultural use in the past. It's flat with a drainage swale along the eastern boundary. It does not contain any wetlands and is outside of the FEMA floodplain. Property has access through Greenmount Road, Pierce Boulevard, and Interstate 64. The surrounding land uses include commercial, medical, and office to the north and to the west, and residential use to the east. Getting into the traffic study, which is going to be a big part of my presentation. This was prepared by CBB Transportation Engineers. And just to give a brief overview on what is changing, the petitioners have proposed a revised outlot plan that now includes a Meyer Express gas convenience station. Other tenants include a fast food restaurant, fast casual, and coffee shop. The building sizes are generally similar or reduced in size, and one outlot has been eliminated. So when the petitioners did come in, because there was a change in the ordinance that was approved in 2023, as well as proposed different uses, the petitioner was required to go through an updated traffic study. And as part of that traffic study, CBB reports that what remains unchanged are the roadway and traffic conditions as they exist today. Greenmount Road is a 4-lane divided minor arterial road posted at 40 miles per hour. It is currently maintained by the city north of I-64 and St. Clair County south of I-64. IDOT does control the interchange, and there are sidewalks present on the west side north of Regency Park. In terms of Regency Park, it's a main east and Pierce Boulevard. It's a main east-west collector with speed limits of 35 miles west of Greenmount and 25 miles through the neighborhoods. There's currently a signal at Greenmount Road, which remains unchanged, with protected permissive left turns. Ever since the ordinance passed in 2023, the city has been working on traffic calming measures, as well as truck restrictions which were put into the ordinance in 2023. So their trucks will be restricted on Pierce Boulevard when the Meyer and if this proposal goes through. In terms of traffic calming measures for Pierce Boulevard, mitigation efforts to slow cut through traffic and reduce overall speeds are planned for construction in 2026. This would include roadway narrowing to add a shared use path, speed humps on Pierce Boulevard, and White Pine Avenue. Site access will continue to remain unchanged as proposed in comparison to the 2023 ordinance. The site will continue to use 4 access points on Pierce Boulevard: the Center West Drive, which will be which will remain entrance only; the Center Drive, which will be shared with the Meyer site to the east. That'll be a full access signalized intersection. The Center East Drive will be full access unsignalized, and the East Drive will be restricted will restrict truck traffic to left turn lanes only to avoid going through the neighborhood. This site access plan does not change from the 2023 project. The Meyer project also remains unchanged. That proposal still remains approved, and plans are still going through the review process. The traffic study does not find any new impacts from the proposed change for Meyer. Updated study from 2025. An updated traffic study was completed this past November, and when compared to the 2023 approved project, it found the following items. So I will go through new trips, diverted trips, and pass-through trips. So looking at new trips, this is new trips in terms of when the development is built. These are the new trips that will be created as customers or patrons have never been through this area, have never been to a business. They are going to go there as a part of a new trip. They're not passing by. They're not going by on I-64 and getting off and getting back on the highway. This is strictly a new trip to the business. CBB found that during weekday AM peak hours, there will be 60 new trips generated. In comparison to 2023, for the proposed uses, there were 165 trips generated. There will be 60 new trips generated during the weekday PM peak hours, whereas the 2023 study found that with the 5 outlots, there would be 120 new trips generated. During Saturday midday peak hour, 155 new trips will be generated compared to the former study with 170 new trips. So you will see that there is a slight increase whenever I go through total traffic, so I will add these up at the end. Pass-by trips are users already traveling on Greenmount Road or Pierce Boulevard, and they decide to turn on Pierce and either go to one of the new businesses that are being proposed or Meyer. This shows there will be 250 pass-by trips during the weekday AM peak hours, compared to 220 pass-by trips in 2023. There will be 230 pass-by trips during the weekday PM peak hours compared to 190 trips in 2023. And the Saturday midday peak hours remains unchanged at 290 pass-by trips. And then the traffic study also breaks down diverted link trips, which is users traveling along Interstate 64. They exit for the facilities, use them, and then return back to the highway. For weekday AM peak hours, there's 70 diverted link trips compared to the 2023 study that showed 120. 100 diverted link trips during the PM peak hour compared to 70 during the 2023 study, and 110 diverted link trips during the Saturday midday peak hour compared to 140. So looking at that in grand total, this is what that means. In comparison of the 2025 traffic study to the 2023 study, there is an increase by approximately 3% during weekday PM peak hours. In total, during the weekday PM peak hours, there is a total traffic generation of 390 trips compared to 380 trips in 2023. So we do see that small increase. Additionally, you'll see a decrease by approximately 25% during the weekday AM peak hours. In total, the traffic study finds that there will be 380 trips in 2025 compared to 505 trips in 2023. And lastly, you'll see a decrease in Saturday midday peak hours by approximately 8%. In total, during Saturday midday hours, there will be 555 total trips generated on Saturday compared to 600 trips as outlined in the 2023 traffic study. Additionally, at Pierce Boulevard and the center signalized intersection, which will be the cross shared access between the shops at Pierce and Meyer, northbound left turns will increase by 5% with weekday PM peak hours, and in alignment with the traffic generation, they decrease by 17% during weekday AM and 6% during Saturday midday. Additionally, northbound right turns decrease in all categories, weekday AM by 25%, weekday PM by 20%, and 13% on Saturday midday peak hours. Traffic study also finds that the mid-corridor traffic along Pierce Boulevard will decrease both westbound and eastbound with the new proposed tenant use. The revised project lowers most peak hour traffic impacts beside the slight increase of 3% that you saw. The roadway network and mitigation commitments from 2023 are valid and adequate. CBB found that there are no new neighborhood impacts that are to be expected from the proposed changes. All access points and traffic control measures remain the same, and the system will continue to function acceptably with the updated tenant mix. Additionally, the access points that I shared, those remain unchanged from 2023. Internal circulation, there is adequate drive aisles and turning radius. There's a requirement of 8 cars to be stacked in each drive-through. Emergency bypass lanes are required on all drive-through lots. You'll see that in the preliminary site plan, it is not currently showing any emergency or bailout lanes. That will be revised during the staff review for the site plan, and that is also a condition that is noted on the plan use should this be approved. Additionally, shared signage and cross-access will be governed by the covenants and restrictions of the property owners. Taking a look at the parking requirements are at the fuel center, per code, they would be required to have 15 parking spaces, and they have provided 21. Per code, for the fast food restaurants, they are required to provide 32 parking spaces for both the fast food restaurant and the fast casual. The fast food restaurant is providing 47 parking spaces, and the fast casual restaurant is providing 55 parking spaces, and the coffee shop is required to have 9 parking spaces and has provided 18. We'll note, as stated, that the drive-through emergency lanes must be provided, and they may reduce, so at a minimum, the petitioner is required to have the minimum required parking spaces, so that'd be 15, 32, and 32, and 9. So the developer may reduce the parking to the required count per city code to provide those drive-through emergency lanes. We do expect them to revise the plan, should this be approved, and that may reduce the parking. However, as you will see in the right-hand column, they have exceeded the required parking in all uses and all lots. Additionally, this must be provided in an updated preliminary site plan And I will also note that in the original presentation and in the original proposal in 2023, there was a variance included for parking stalls to be at 9.5 feet. That has since been eliminated. In 2023, that was not provided for approval by City Council. We did speak to the petitioners. They're not asking for that variance, so we have since eliminated that, and that is no longer being an ask. The parking stalls will remain and comply with code at 10 feet. Landscaping will be required to meet city code. The site layout does provide adequate landscape areas and screening. They will also be required to maintain the natural buffer on the east property line. That would be the responsibility of the Meyer site. Additionally, photometric plans will be required to meet city code. All light poles are required to be in located in landscaped aisles, and the fixtures are to be shielded and downward directed. Sidewalk connectivity, there will be a proposed four-walk sidewalk along Pierce Boulevard, and staff recommends adding the sidewalk along one side of the private drive. Additionally, traffic calming measures on Pierce Boulevard and White Pine Avenue are scheduled for later this year. Utilities will be provided by the City of O'Fallon in terms of water and sanitary sewer. Detention will be provided through an underground system primarily located on Lot 3, which is the fast casual restaurant. The 2023 approvals carry forward the modifications for their signage. They're asking for the same asks that were approved in 2023, which is a development ID sign permitted at Green Mountain Pierce Boulevard, monument signs for all lots 1, 2, 3, and 4, allowed only on the private internal drive. Wall signage will be allowed on all 4 building elevations at a maximum 10% wall area, and the gas canopy is allowed to have 4 signs on each side. Or excuse me, 1 sign on each side, totaling 4 signs. Thank you. The building design must comply with the commercial design handbook, includes varied materials, facade articulation, and screens mechanicals on the roof. Dumpster enclosures are required to meet design standards and be screened. In terms of staff review and staff's recommendation, we do find that the proposed new use does conform with the 2040 master plan in terms of the subject property being depicted as a regional commercial, which is consistent with the proposed project. The property is also primarily surrounded by commercial type developments, including offices to the north, HSHS Medical Group, PNC, the Blade Building, Greenmount Professional Building, and other regional uses. In terms of conforming with the zoning ordinance, the overall development does meet the area bulk regulations of the zoning code, and the site does provide adequate access and circulation. The recommendations listed in the traffic study from 2023 are carried over to 2025 and remain the same. To reduce impacts to the residential uses to the east of the site, the developer is maintaining, screening, and implementing roadway improvements to accommodate the traffic. And the proposal is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the commercial design guidelines. So with that said, this is staff's recommendation. Staff is ultimately recommending development approval with the following conditions. The planned use for the shops at Pierce would include the following. Keep in mind, number 1 has been striked out. This will not be included. There is no longer an ask for 9.5 feet wide parking spaces. So the condition would be an approval of liquor sales for on-site consumption at the proposed fast casual restaurant, approval for off-site consumption liquor sales for the convenience store, and all buildings are subject to commercial design guidelines, and all mechanical units must be screened. The shops at Pierce are approved to have signage on all 4 elevations of the building, but must comply with city code at a maximum of 10% of the wall area. This would include 4-sided signage at the fuel site canopy. Monument signs within the shops at Pierce are only permitted along the internal private roadway. Each lot may have 1 monument sign. A development identification sign can be placed at the corner of Greenmount Road and Pierce Boulevard, meeting the requirements of the sign code. The hours of operation for the fuel station convenience store shall be limited to 6 a.m. to 10 o'clock p.m. Cross-access and covenants and restrictions are required for both shops at Pierce and Meyer for the maintenance of the cross-access drives and signage. The development is subject to the completion of the final traffic study and resolution of the roadway improvements required for the development. Emergency bypass lanes shall be provided for drive-throughs on lots 2, 3, and 4, and an increase in pedestrian accommodations throughout the entire site of the development along Pierce Boulevard and proposed access drives. And with that said, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate that. For anybody who enjoys reading traffic studies like I do, you had your work cut out for you on this one. Before we open it up for discussion, I do need a motion and a second for us to discuss it.
And Chairman Lotz, if I may add one thing real quick.
Sure.
As Greg mentioned, and you mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, they have a previous approval for a project that includes, as Greg mentioned, the 5 outlots. So as the council and committee makes their decision and deliberation tonight and then the next week, even if this change of use is not approved, they have signified enough work with their minor mediation and planning and traffic studies. They are vested in that previously approved plan. So as this council makes their decision and goes through their process, just a reminder that it's not this proposal or nothing, it's this proposal or the previously one that was approved.
Thank you for that
Thank you.
clarification. Is there a motion so we can discuss it?
So moved.
I'll second it. We'll open it up for committee discussion in a moment. I'll kick it off by saying anytime I think I might be in the minority on a vote, I like to explain my thinking on things. So I was one of the overwhelming number of people on the council that supported the project back in 2023. I really liked the concept as a whole. I liked the big box store right off the interstate. But I also really liked that there were the mix of the outlots. You had several eating places, a mix of fast food and sit down. You had the medical building. Anytime we poll our residents with strategic plans or master plans, one of the number one things is they want more places to eat. So when I voted in favor of this, it was as a concept. And if I'm being real honest, I'm not a fan of what's being presented tonight, mostly because they both, what's already been approved and what's being considered tonight, they both meet the master plan. I think what's already been approved for my position meets it better for what residents value. So anybody who has business before the council has the right to change what they want to bring. And I also have the right to change my mind. So we've got a couple more votes ahead of us. I'm not sure how it's going to go, but just wanted to share that for me, as of today, I'm a no. Is there anybody else that has comments they'd like to make?
I'll speak. It felt, if I recall properly, it felt like that the gas station was not something, like we kind of let them know that that was not something that we are really, that's a high traffic area. And it kind of felt like a bait and switch a little bit, like let's get it in and let's switch it back over to what we kind of originally might have wanted. So I'm kind of leaning the same way. It felt more calm, and like a gas station's busy, people are in and out all the time, and it's right there on that intersection, which is ridiculously busy. So, and then if they're going to be widening out the interstate and those exits eventually, which is, I think, part of the plans based on some meetings I went to a few years back, I mean, it just seems like that's going to be a lot of traffic. So I'm leaning toward liking the original one. I'd like that. I think it was originally 6 lots, and they scaled it down to 5, and that felt pretty good. And I like the medical building, which is slow, not a lot of traffic, and it felt calmer. This is feeling like we're going to make that intersection what we had all these meetings about the public that they were not interested in, bringing it right back to what they didn't really want in the first place. So that's my 2 cents.
And if I may add, so I've since been involved in this from the very beginning, the conceptual discussions with GBT. And as we go back, so GBT, which is a realty company, they're developers, they also did the shops at Richland Creek. They originally purchased this land. They approached Meyer for the super center, which was completely separate than the outlots as originally designed by GBT. As time went by, and from the conversations that we were told happened, GBT asked Meyer, is there any uses that you don't want to be next to? And at that time, they said, well, you know, with gas stations, we have our own brand gas station. We know we don't have the land, you guys have the shops. So we would really request that you don't do a gas station. So GBT, as they proposed to us, and we asked them from staff, point blank, are you going to want to do a gas station? Because if you're going to propose it, now is the time. This is 3 years ago. And they said no, because their basis of knowledge was working with their master tenant of, well, they have their own model for gas stations. So I don't want anybody to think that the plan all along, and again, I've been involved in only one side of the conversations. I'm not involved in the developer side, but from the start, I don't ever think that the plan was, let's get this approved and then change everything. Now, other information regarding traffic and the uses. So we have to understand there's a difference between fast food and fast casual. I know they sound very similar. Fast food is your McDonald's, your high volume where you might have 20 cars queuing up. A fast casual, think more of a Chipotle, Qdoba, Five Guys, where it does take a little bit of time to cook the food. The drive-thrus are going to mostly be for like DoorDash and pickup orders, so pre-ordered. So that's kind of the difference in that traffic impact. Again, with gas stations, especially on the corners, this will have more of the drive-by and the generated trips. But as we talked about traffic, nobody wakes up in the morning. I know I just went and got gas just down the street. I was like, I've got to get that before committee meetings end, because who wants to get gas at 9 p.m.? Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, great, I want to get out of bed and go get gas right now. What they do is they go to grocery stores like Meijer. They go to fast food or fast casual places. And so as staff, and Jeff spent a lot of time on these traffic studies, not only do we look at the general use of a business, fast casual, fast food, but if they have interest from retailers and they can provide us more data and more specific names, then we can get more granular in the data on what traffic generation that is. And so there's a big difference between, fast food that might generate 40 to 50 cars in a queue and 2 drive-thrus, and a Chipotle, which is generally, you kind of park, you go in, you order, or you might do a DoorDash. So just trying to explain a little bit of the traffic numbers and how those mixes change. There are sometimes staff's not allowed to disclose names. Sometimes we're not told the names. Sometimes it's, hey, this is what they do, and we're able to kind of figure out what the user mix is going to be, and that may change what Jeff and I and Greg want them to do on a traffic study. I don't want to be long-winded here, but as that user mix kind of become more reality, there are triggers in our code and the authority by staff to say, okay, well, the city council has approved these uses, and while they may have approved a fast casual or fast food, the one you're specifically talking about has 3 or 4 times the traffic impact. So those are all things we do to present to the council and to the public on what these true numbers of traffic impact and site circulation mean. So.
Great. Thank you for that context on the gas station discussion, but then also the difference between fast food and fast casual, because that was on my list. Any other comments from the committee?
So I just want to add, I was a hard no when this whole thing started, and then it got approved, and it got approved based on a lot of factors. But the thing that I started having the hardest problem with, and still had the hardest problem with, was traffic. And once it was approved and traffic was X, and this, the way it's being proposed now, is traffic X minus. So for me, I can't go back and make this a no, or I would be a no again, right, from the beginning. But this is already passed, and if we don't pass the one we're looking at now, and we go back to the one passed in 2023, the part that I had the biggest problem with was traffic is going to be worse, or potentially could be worse. So while I still don't like this project, I don't want it there, I can't go back and make it a no. The lesser of two evils, and I hate saying that, but the lesser of two evils for me is approving it the new way, which would be less traffic for the residents, because that seems to be one of their biggest issues. Now, like you said, people, we don't know what we don't know. And so if it was, and we know it's not going to be, well, without coming back to us, the Chick-fil-A thing, if it's something that's going to create more than what we're expecting or more than what we believe that the traffic study showed, well, then we'll have another bite at it, right? So minus that, this is a net negative traffic-wise. And I think, again, that was one of the biggest issues that the residents had. So I'm a yes, but I don't really like saying I'm a yes because I didn't like the project to begin with. So.
Thank you for that. Any other comments from the committee? Yes, sir.
I just think it's interesting that we you add a gas station and the traffic flow goes down,
It's true.
I have a hard time wrapping my head around that.
Sure, and that gets back to that conversation about the specific users. As we get more definitive use, we can better calculate the impact of drive-ins and drive-throughs.
So, but the misgiving that I have with this current proposal is the addition of a gas station. And that's one of the things that I heard loud and clear from residents in Ward 6 was didn't want a gas station there, gumming up the works on Pierce. And then I just don't see any way that's not going to increase traffic at peak times, and it's already stacked up down Greenmont in the morning, starting at 6. And it's just, I hesitate to encourage any more traffic on Greenmont going south or getting on the interstate early morning hours and in the afternoon hours is already stacked up on I-64s in the afternoon. So I don't see this as a positive for the project.
All right, we will open it to the council. Questions, comments, feedback from our colleagues on the council. Mr. Kearney, stand by for a microphone, please.
Do we know what fast food places are actually going in there? Plus, you're taking out the medical building, which is minimum as far as traffic, but then you're adding the gas station in, and I agree with them. I don't see how you can say it's going down when you're putting a gas station into such this area. But as far as the different restaurants that are going in,
So no, we wouldn't necessarily, and it wouldn't be public until a formal application is submitted. In conversations with developer, they tell us who they're marketing to, what that traffic impact. Now, the reason why it went down, again, that user mix, and also they removed an additional outlot. So there was, think of 5 buildings, now 4 buildings. A medical office building can be anything from a dentist office to a chiropractor to a full-service doctor's office. Typically in a retail area like this, a power center, you won't see like a physician's office. It'd be more like a Aspen Dental or a joint chiropractic.
Any other comments from our colleagues on the council? Ms. Boney?
One of the things I keep floating around in my head, and I hate to even say this because I'm sure it's going to be misconstrued by some people, but, when we look at these projects, I think traffic is one of the things that always comes up. And there's a hesitation for the traffic, but I think we also sometimes fail to realize that, since 2020, or 2000 rather, like our population has grown. Like we're at over 32,000 people. Like are we causing the traffic, or the traffic's already here? And it's something we just have to deal with. And I think in one way it's good that we have traffic. We can mitigate it and do some of the things that Jeff and his folks are looking at doing to make people feel more comfortable. But the reality is, like, we're going to have traffic. We have grown exponentially in the last 20 years. And it's just something that I think sometimes we fail to realize. So just kind of one of the things I keep thinking about is it's just the fact of what we deal with.
Thank you. Any other comments from the council? All right, comments from the public. I'm sorry. Oh, Curtis, go ahead.
Hey, sorry about that. No, I drive Pierce almost every day, going on to Greenmount, whether it's going into Target or on that side of town. And one of the biggest complaints that I've gotten from people through this area is the hassle of having to get off the highway and make that right or the left to go to the Motomart that is right there on Green Mountain Frank Scott, and then have to go through that whole traffic area. to get gas station, or even any of the fast food places. And so a lot of the feedback I've gotten from people is, if we're adding restaurants or fast food places with a gas station, people are very excited that I've talked to. It hasn't been a ton of people, but it has been kind of more of, on my side, I will say, I'm, 35, so I have, some of the connections with some of the younger crowd, I guess, that they're very excited about this. And this was something that they, a lot of people told me they're looking forward to and said it would be a great idea to add to the area. Also, like I said, just with the gas station itself, I understand the increase in potential traffic. But according to this study, if we're saying, what did we say? It was a 3%, I think, or 8% increase in traffic to those areas. Like Andrea was saying, we're busy anyway. Our city is growing exponentially, and we have a lot of residents and a lot of traffic with everything we're adding. We probably need to start looking at adding fast food restaurants, gas stations, something instead of, like the study we saw at the sports park where people are leaving O'Fallon, going to Fairview Heights and eating Chick-fil-A and Raising Cane's in Fairview Heights. Why can't we do something to keep them here in our town where they're staying here and then doing stuff more in the O'Fallon side? So that's just kind of my 2 cents. Like I said, I haven't heard from a large number of people, but I have heard from a group of people that I've talked with about it. And I've heard that, only positives. I've never heard of anybody say absolutely not. Several people in that ward that have come forward and talked to me about it. So like I said, not a whole lot of people, but enough where I think that this sounds like a good idea. And moving forward would, I think, be beneficial to the city as a whole.
Thank you, Curtis. All right, we'll open it up to the public. Is there anybody who would like to make comments and address them to the committee tonight?
Hey, Jessica, can I?
Yes, sure, go ahead.
Curtis said something that made me think about something I just wanted to share as well. I think too, some of the feedback I've gotten as well is, as one does errands, especially females alone, feel safer. I've heard this a couple times, feel safer in a complex like this than a standalone gas station. They do feel safer going to somewhere like a Sam's or this, where there is the mix of things than a standalone gas station. So I just thought that was an interesting perspective.
Thank you. Anybody from the public?
Vern Ware, Ward 3. I don't know where to start, but let's start with all your findings on traffic and everything else, and that is probably all estimates, guesstimates, what's going to happen. There's enough confusion and traffic in that, trying to get into Sam's over there when people want to get gas there, and then you're just going to double the problem with the other gas station if you let Mars come in with their gas station. And so I don't believe any of the traffic studies. It's going to have to, you're going to have to build it and see what happens. Then what's going to happen if they come back later on, probably have to come back for you. Nobody's got a right mind that has a gas station that's going to stay open from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. They're going to want to be 24/7. So they're going to come back to you and ask again to change that deal. And another thought, I haven't seen any ward meetings that where people, the ward members would get together, the aldermen would get together and bring their group of their people in and ask them how they feel about different things. That hasn't happened. I don't know what's going to happen to straighten this situation out, but I think it's ridiculous that you're even thinking about putting a gas station in there. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. All right, seeing no other public comments. Oh, go ahead, sir. Come on up.
Ron Zelms, Ward 6. You all got an email from me December before as my Christmas present. One of the things I always am curious about up here, like number 7, the development is subject to completion of the final traffic study. I'm never sure what that means because I thought we had the final traffic study. Maybe someone can explain that. And as far as GBT not having a plan for a gas station, I would remind everybody of what happened in June of 2023 at the Planning Commission meeting, where the GBT rep stood up after all the public comment was closed and said, what about if we thought about putting a gas station? So don't say it wasn't in their mind already. That was out there, okay? All you got to go back is read the minutes from June of 2023 on that. So this is not something new. And in terms of, the traffic study, it's theoretical. Theoretically, there should have been some teams that didn't lose yesterday either in the NFL, and they did. Yeah, kind of like what was just said. In theory, things sound good. They sound good on paper. All I can say is good luck when it actually comes time for the real, you don't even know what's going to happen just having the mire there, let alone adding a gas station to this. And for those of you who are in that mid-30 range, for those of us who are in the early to mid-70 range, I would tell you, yeah, in the 35 years I've been here, yes, the city's double in population, but what it hasn't increased is the road infrastructure to handle that. And so now we're adding more, and yes, we need to handle the traffic. It's going to be here. But the same east, west, north, south roads through this city are still here. Ain't nothing changed. We widened a few, and I really, really think you need to think long and hard before you do this to my neighborhood by putting a gas station there, and everything else being equal. You have a plan now. Meyer purchased this land knowing what the planned use was, okay? I haven't heard anybody up here or in any venue say why this plan is truly better for the city than the current existing plan. I'll just end it there.
All right. Any other public comments? Yes, sir.
Harold, I'm Ward 2. I kind of echo some of the concerns about traffic, gas stations, road infrastructure. I'm concerned about it, even though I'm across town. I do frequent going over there and everything, and I do find it kind of to be a little annoying as to how far down you have to go to turn around and come back going down Greenmont. So some of this is still, it has me concerned as well too. The gas station, yeah, going across that way, but you also have Shell that direction, Shell this direction. In the areas, I kind of caution a little bit about the gas station issue as well. I do like the idea of fast food restaurants, building up a little bit more medical. It's just, I'm going to see that, yes, there's going to be a lot more traffic going through Pierce is another concern. So I'm kind of leaning more towards that being a really big concern for me, and hope you guys consider it too. Another question I had is when we were talking about the 23 to the 26 plan, is there a way of, it seems like if you say no to this one, you have to revert back to 23. Is there a way to kind of merge to come up with a plan C? Just a question I had lingering when I was listening to everybody talk, and I appreciate everybody's input. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You want to speak quickly to a Plan C and how plans come together to get submitted?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so to say this is Plan A and B, I think would be a little bit, that's our fault. This is probably Plan Z and then XY 23-4. This is a 3 or 4 year old project. It had a couple of years of kind of incubating before, it kind of ever gets solidified. And so as ownership changes, the market changes, plans adapt. Mr. Zelms' question about traffic and theoretical, he's 100% accurate. We as planners and as city officials have to use data and theory and applicable science with our engineers that live this day in and day out. I am not a traffic engineer. Jeff's a great engineer. He doils in traffic. He's pretty good at it. But there are entire teams of professionals that do nothing but traffic analysis and study. Again, as we do these planning, it's based on theory and past practice. A lot of the concerns of the residents and staff and elected body are fears, concerns, and we have to mold those into a project that works for the entire area. We have to live on what has worked and what has not worked. And in my 14 years, we've never made a decision up here where somebody that disagreed with it came back afterward and said, you know what, I thought I was wrong. You did a good job. That's not how this field works. We use, like I said, data and science and professionals to determine what is the impact on this. And so is there an option C, D, 450? Sure, there's a potential that the economy collapses and plans change and they would have to come back in here and stand in front of all of us and ask for an approval on that. There was a question earlier about a final traffic study. And so as we work through these traffic studies, we consider it a bag or a bucket of traffic of trips. And so I mentioned earlier, as those users become more defined, if there's a user that comes in and it's like, oh, it's 7 times the traffic impact of what a typical fast food or fast casual, then yes, it changes our approval and the approval given to them by the council. And so we will look at that, and if it doesn't fit inside that bucket that's been in front of the council and approved publicly, that's when a final traffic study has to be a new one. But more times than not, the developer is able to fit inside that original approval or traffic study, and that becomes the final one at that time. I hope that makes sense.
Thank you for clarifying. Yes, Mr. Perchman.
2 things. Are the lots going to be owned by Meyer and leased like a land trust, or are they going to be sold off?
I'm not entirely sure of that. They can do either one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, this is not so if it's multifamily, it has to stay under one ownership. Commercial, typically, they'll sell off to whoever, like McDonald's may want to own. There's no indication that McDonald's is going here. I'm just using an example. They may want to own their own real estate. And that's a case when we talk about conditions and cross-access agreements. The site has to be maintained the same as it would if it's one owner or 4 owners, and they all work together on that.
Okay. And then the other topic was, besides the land, there's going to be 4 lots versus 5. And when you did the Starbucks, and you guys said the traffic was going to work on that Starbucks, the one by McDonald's, I've yet to see that backed up on the road yet.
Right.
So I have to lean reluctantly to trust staff opinion on this, because those traffic studies you guys, in my opinion, have not had one that's just been way off in left field. So that Starbucks right there was one that everybody thought was going to be a mess, and it's been phenomenal, so close to that light. So just kind of like Jessica said, she's a no. I'm going to be a reluctant yes based on just the traffic studies and the past experience I've had with what you guys have said. So like I said, on this one, I could be swayed if there's other opinions or something, but tonight I'm going to be a reluctant yes. But I just want to know about those 4 lots and then the
Absolutely.
and that.
And I do stand corrected. In 14 years, I have now once experienced that somebody said something I told us from the engineers worked
Exactly.
out. So.
Right. All right, well, I'll go ahead and close the public comment section of this. Grant sort of comprehensively, nicely stated what I was going to say after some of my colleagues on the council. I trust traffic studies to the extent that one can. It takes something that's not easily quantifiable, and it quantifies it to a reasonable extent. And I'm not an engineer, so outside of a traffic study, there's no other way for me to reasonably, as a decision maker, evaluate these things. So I trust traffic studies and the people that put them together. And then I also want to say, I'm not anti-gas, I'm pro-food. So, all right. So with that, we will go ahead and take a roll call vote on 2.1.
Campbell,
No.
Mylart,
No.
Parchman,
Yes.
Rosenberg,
Yes.
Lots.
No.
And so the vote was 3-2, that would be, well, I guess 2-3. Just so everybody's aware, since this is a committee, committees do not make the final decision. It's simply a recommendation to the full city council. So next week, on Tuesday night, because of Martin Luther King holiday, at 7 p.m., the city council will will hear this and vote upon it as a full body, but there will be a negative recommendation to the council from this committee with a vote of 2 to 3. Just want to explain that because this doesn't happen that often, that a negative recommendation comes from a committee.
And then also, next Tuesday is the first reading. So
Correct.
things have to go through committees twice and full council twice. So we'll take it up next Tuesday, and then it will come before the council again for the final and only vote that counts. 2 weeks, whatever that Monday is, 2 weeks after the 19th, which will be a full council meeting at 6 p.m. So, all right. We have another agenda item
That'll be the first 6 p.m.
First 6 p.m.
Next week is 7 p.m. so-
Correct.
Greg has a slide for this.
For
the times.
Oh, thank you. All right, so sort of project adjacent, we have item 2.2.
Thank you. This is quick. This is a resolution approving a preliminary plat for the development known as the Shops at Pierce. I've already went over this. I will not go in depth compared to the 2023 approved uses to the consolidation of 4 lots. These show what the 4 lots would be. And here is the preliminary plat showing the subdivision of 4 lots for 4 uses, as well as Outlot 5, which would be the private internal drive. That said, we
Okay.
recommend approval of it.
All right, is there a motion and a second for item 2.2?
So moved.
Second.
All righty, any discussion from the committee?
I just reiterate the same thing I said before. If we go back to, if we don't pass this and we go back to what was approved in 2023, one of the biggest things, no matter what businesses are there, one of the biggest the concerns people had was traffic, and this is a net negative. This new project, 2026, is a net negative if we trust what the traffic engineers say. So,
Thank you. Comments from the council on the resolution? Comments from the public? All right, we will vote on 2.2. Roll call, please.
Campbell,
No.
Mylart,
No.
Parchman,
Yes.
Rosenberg,
affirmative?
Lots.
No. All righty, that is all the business before the council. Oh, you've got your summary slide.
Thank
Let's
you.
hear
So,
it.
just so everybody is aware, first reading, this will go to first reading next Tuesday at 7 o'clock p.m. at City Hall, January 20th. It will then move to second reading, Community Development Committee, Monday, January 26th at 6 o'clock p.m., but please check the website, time can vary. And Monday, February 2nd, City Council meeting, second reading at City Hall at 6 o'clock p.m.
Thank you. All right, we will move on to item 3.1, which are community development updates.
Thank you. Just provide a brief update, as this is the first meeting of the month, just to give a full, once my computer, there we go. To provide a 2025 end-of-year department update. In 2025, the Community Development Committee did issue 971 building permits. This is a total sum of construction estimated at $184 million. Our staff completed approximately 2,800 occupancy permit inspections. This included 1,300 re-inspections. We completed 7,624 building inspections, including both commercial and residential inspections. From the public, we received 1,127 code enforcement complaints, and of those complaints, as well as administrative actions, we completed 7,251 actions, including violation notices, reaching out to residents, follow-up inspections, enforcement tickets, and court appearances. To provide a construction update, Spring Hill Suites on Greenmount Drive has received their building permit, so they will be doing full construction here. Brandywine has been issued 7 occupancy permits. You will see there are many buildings going up under construction. 14 building permits have been issued. We are currently working with the petitioners and the developers, as well as IDOT, to work on, for Park Place, the intersection at Highway 50, Veneta and Frontage Road. We're still working through those plans. Patio homes, the final construction plans were approved. This was a project that was approved by City Council previously, so it did not require coming back to City Council. SAB Enterprises, or Gateway Elite Gymnastics, their zoning was approved on January 5th, and city staff and the petitioners have initiated a traffic study component of that project with CBB. And in terms of St. Elizabeth Hospital, they have received their building permits for the MOB building as well as the expansion, and full construction is underway. They are currently completing their fire alarm review. And for upcoming meetings, we do have a Planning Commission meeting on January 27th at 6:00 p.m. here at City Hall. We have Scott's Power Equipment. They are taking the building located right next to Q Storage on New Car Drive. They are requesting an outdoor display area, and Greenmount Harley Davidson has applied for an amendment to their planned use. They are looking to do an additional 20,000 square foot building addition with an outdoor display and signage. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much. At this time, we'll open it up for public comments. Is there anybody from the public wishing to address the committee? Yes, sir.
Vermont Ward 3, just a question in regards to the informational update that you gave. Why couldn't I see that tab there to see what you just brought up on the computer?
It's loaded on the internet on the board docs. If you go to item 1.1, is that, it's on there. It's available to the public.
So when I pull it up, I see the things that are there. And you can go over and click on, there's no attachment there that says I can go click on that to see.
Yeah, there is. If you go to item 1.1, there's an attachment.
How do I get to 1.1?
It's on the agenda.
On the paper, on the regular agenda? I'll have to take a look at it.
Okay. All right, seeing no other public comments, we will close the public comment section, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.